Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm Grace, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for season 4 is Reading Rainbow, so that's LGBTQ plus books. And this week we're reading Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
The easiest name for us to pronounce, probably, given all of our problems that we have.
Yeah, usually we have to look up like a phonetic guide. Sarah Waters, pretty straightforward. I just couldn't remember what it was for the life of me. Also, bear with us a little. We're testing out a new position for our mics at our at-home recording studio, i.e., Grace's living room.
Yes, and if you don't like it, don't tell us.
Yeah, we don't want to know. We don't care.
Please support us unconditionally.
Thank you. All right, it's been a minute since I've seen you.
I was just going to say we haven't recorded in a while.
We have not recorded in a long while, mainly because this book is like a cool 500 pages and did take me a minute to get through.
So not only did we have to finish the book, which took us a while, we were also kept apart by the weather in DC.
Oh my God, it's been horrible. So actually by the time we're recording, this episode will be the next one out. It is Sunday and this comes out on Tuesday. So we're actually being timely for once. But
once we get to the end of the season, you can always tell the distance between recording and publishing gets much narrower.
Oh, much narrower. But this time it really wasn't our fault with the weather. We've had like horrendous downpours in DC.
Yeah, but they don't happen during the day. They happen after hours. So once 5 o'clock hits, it's like a deluge of thunderstorm and flash floods. And simply we have not been able to be in the same place to record, which is our preference.
No, you were supposed to come over this week, and then you were like, actually I don't want to be outside in this. And we were like, yeah, we also don't want to be driving to pick you up in this, so out of options.
But it's a delightful Sunday morning. There are clouds, but the sun is shining for now. So we have deemed it safe enough to travel.
Yes, exactly. But since the last time I've seen you, what has been new with you?
I took a little weekend jaunt down to Richmond
to
visit a friend of mine. We had a delightful time, and we visited a place that you have been before, which is the McKay Used Books in Manassas.
And as hopefully many of our listeners know what and where this is, as I feel like we've talked about it a couple of times.
Yes, it is a delightful bookstore. I came back with 7 books that I paid $13 for.
Jesus Christ. And that's $13 total.
Yeah, and actually it was $13 of store credit because I took books to sell.
Oh, even better.
Not a penny of my own money was spent on the books.
Even better. I need to go there and just like unhaul.
A good time to get rid of the pod books that you bought on Thrift Books and then didn't end up liking.
Exactly. Actually, I was going to say, like the one this week, I didn't buy Fingersmith. I got that at the library.
So, and how long did that take?
It took kind of, I was stuck at position 2 for like a while.
See, I am having problems with the DC library with getting physical books. It's just so fucking slow. Pardon my French. And I love the library and I understand it's a big system, so I can forgive it. However, I did put a book on hold in December and I was number 6th in line and I haven't gotten it and it's almost August.
That's insane.
And I am number 1, so that's good.
Finally.
But it's kind of slow.
Yeah, it's been slow. I've actually, if I'm just going to segue right into what we're currently reading, again, relying a lot on Libby and audiobooks.
Libby is my girl.
As I've been having to commute to the office more than usual lately, I have been kind of whipping through some audiobooks. I finished The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, which I mentioned a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Might have been last week, actually.
Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was good. This was another mystery one where not to the extent of Dead Girls, but like I kind of picked up on stuff early enough that I knew where it was going.
Yeah.
And then now I am almost done with The Paris Apartment, which is also Lucy Foley.
Ooh.
This one I really didn't see where it was going at all. I've heard mixed opinions that like some people really love this one. Some people, they're like, this is my least favorite of her books.
I've heard a lot of conflicting opinions on Lucy Foley in general.
Yeah, no, she is like, her books are not like the pinnacle of mystery, but I like them and they're fun and I like the characters. She has some kind of repeat themes of characters, like some like very obsessive stalkery type girls. And I'm like, you know what? I like it. I'm like, once you kind of like figure out who's who in her, like in how she sets up her people.
Oh, you can deduce kind of the ending.
You can kind of figure it out. But I like The Paris Apartment so far. It did not go the direction I thought it was going to.
Well, good. before I segue into what I have been reading, what have you been up to other than listening to your audiobooks and commuting to work?
Yeah, no, it's been incredibly busy. So this is like the first weekend in probably like 2 months we have not been hosting people at our apartment, which is
that's nice.
So nice. But last weekend it was Santiago's birthday, so his parents were here, which is always lovely to see them.
Wonderful.
So we had a really nice time, and we went to a Latin American music festival. And I say we went to a festival. We went for the last 2 performances. It was a 2-day festival. We got there like Sunday at like 6 p.m.
Okay.
So we didn't go for the whole thing.
Honestly, that's kind of the way to do it, because a music festival to me is just like a horrible environment.
Yeah, no, but it was at what's it called?
Wolf
It was at Wolf Trap, which is a really, really great venue in Virginia, actually right by my office place. It's also a national park, and I believe it's one of, if not the only performing arts spaces that is also a national park. So it's really cool. We went to see Carlos Vives, which is, I guess, like, if you don't count Shakira, the biggest Colombian musician. So you probably couldn't name any of his songs, but I'm sure you have heard them when Santiago has played them. So that was my experience. I'm like, I know every single one of these songs because he puts them on repeat.
And I feel like because of you telling me about it, and also you sending me the photo of his concert where you were like, he's dressed like a Bratz boy, and he was.
No, that was not him though.
That wasn't him?
No, that was some random. So the last 2 performances were the biggest acts of the whole festival.
Okay.
So of course they had the person leading up to them. There was, this poor kid, like no one was here for him.
Aww.
That was the one who looks like a Bratz.
Okay.
But he was like a 19-year-old kid. Carlos Vives is like 62.
Okay. Well, the photo was from far away, so it was like maybe he's just dressing young.
Yeah, exactly.
But I am kind of interested to listen to him now that you and Santiago have been talking him up.
I've really enjoyed it. It was a great show. And then, not yesterday, Friday, for our friend celebration, which unfortunately you couldn't go to because you were not feeling well.
Sad.
We went on a booze cruise on the Potomac, which was really, really fun. And then we went out dancing.
And it looked like everything turned out well there weather-wise also.
Yes, we hit a little bit of rain on the boat. Nothing
it has a cover. You can get sprinkled on if you're already on the water.
Exactly. We were getting sprinkled on. And then Santiago was really stressed because we had like for that kind of thing, you have a hard time. You have like a 7:15. Everyone needs to be here or you're getting left behind. And we have many friends who like 7:15 is 7:30 is really 7:45.
Yeah.
But thank God everyone made it. And that a lot of people hit like really bad metro delays and traffic too. So
But people still made it happen.
People still made it happen. We were very grateful. It seems like everyone wound up getting lucky at the last second with like metro. Like Diana, I know she was stuck at Metro Center for like a long ass time. She's like, I left my place at 6:00 and she got there at like almost right on the dot, like 7:15.
That's so unfortunate.
So everyone made it. But yeah, it was a really, really nice time.
Nice. Well, while I have been unfortunately not going on the booze cruise and convalescing, I have been reading, of course. So I feel like I'm the one who most often has like kind of a random thing to say about what I've been reading. Like I go kind of all over the place.
You're always reading something different and disconnected to what you've been reading before.
Usually, yes. However, this week I have a historical fiction to talk about.
Oh!
Yes. So I read a book called Diva by Daisy Goodwin, which is about the opera singer Maria Callas.
Okay.
She was very famous in her time, and also she was, for a very long period of time, this is kind of what the book focused on, she was the mistress of Aristotle Onassis, who became Jackie Kennedy's second husband.
Oh! So wait. I'm going to sound so stupid right now.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea Jackie Kennedy remarried, and I thought Onassis was her maiden name.
No, her maiden name was Bouvier.
Okay, so at GW.
Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis.
And that's the name of a dorm at JBKO at GW, because Jackie Kennedy was one of our alum. But I thought her maiden name was hyphenated, I guess. I have no idea. I definitely thought Onassis was her maiden name.
Well, when you read the book, it's sad because Aristotle Onassis, who's this like Greek like billionaire tycoon, ends up divorcing his wife, or his wife divorces him because she's sick of him cheating on her all the time, which like fair girl.
Yeah. And
then Maria Callas is like, great, we will get married. And then he figures out that Jackie's available when,
okay,
when she becomes available, and then he chases her down instead.
Oh, husband shot, back on the market.
I'm in, yeah. So, but it was really good. So I would recommend. Anyone looking for a nice little female-led historical fiction for the summer.
Good to know. And today we have another female-led historical fiction.
Oh boy, do we.
In Fingersmith. Would you like to give the synopsis?
I will. Sue Trinder is an orphan, left as an infant in the care of Mrs. Suxby, a baby farmer, who raised her with unusual tenderness as if Sue were her own. Mrs. Suxby's household, with its fussy babies calmed with doses of gin, also hosts a transient family of petty thieves, Fingersmiths, for whom this house in the heart of a mean London slum is home. One day, the most beloved thief of all arrives. Gentleman, an elegant con man, who carries with him an enticing proposition for Sue. If she wins a position as the maid to Maud Lily, a naive gentlewoman, and aids Gentleman in her seduction, then they will all share in Maud's vast inheritance. Once the inheritance is secured, Maud will be disposed of, passed off as mad, and made to live out the rest of her days in a lunatic asylum. With dreams of paying back the kindness of her adopted family, Sue agrees to the plan. Once in, however, Sue begins to pity her helpless Mark and care for Maud Lily in unexpected ways. But no one and nothing is as it seems in this Dickensian novel of thrills and reversals.
So thoughts on the synopsis. This is a really good synopsis. However, it doesn't even get into barely a fourth of what the book is about. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think it could without giving things away. So I'm very pleased with the synopsis.
Exactly. It only scratches the surface, but you should not know more than that going in.
Yeah.
I feel like we did not, but could have said the same thing about the synopsis for Codename Verity.
Yes.
All you need to know is that they've crash landed in France and one of them is being tortured, and you shouldn't know more.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about Sarah Waters.
Absolutely.
Sarah Waters is a Welsh author who was born in 1966, and she is really well known for writing lesbian historical fiction. She has 6 books, and one of them is not lesbian, which is really funny to me, just because people are like, that's the straight one.
Mm-hmm.
But those books are Tipping the Velvet, which was her debut in 1998, Affinity, Fingersmith was her 3rd book, and it came out in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
The Night Watch, The Little Stranger, and most recently, The Paying Guests, which came out in 2014.
And you've read one or more?
Yes, I have read, well, obviously now Fingersmith, yes. And I have read Tipping the Velvet before.
Okay, so her debut.
Yes. She has won the Somerset Maugham Award.
Not the Somerset Maugham Award.
Yes, which I bring up because we are now familiar with him, unfortunately. And she's been shortlisted for the Booker and the Orange Prize.
Okay. So
she has had a lot of adaptations of her work generally. 4 of her books have been adapted into BBC miniseries, including Fingersmith and Tipping the Velvet. Mm-hmm. And those 2 are definitely her most adapted books. They also each have stage adaptations.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would... I don't know... Not that... I don't know if I would see it. I don't know if I can envision this as a stage adaptation.
It must be very creative. That's all I'll say. And then in 2017, the very famous and notable film director Park Chan-wook released the film The Handmaiden, which is based off of Fingersmith, but it's set in Korea.
And if you want a spoiler for one of our bonus episodes,
we will be watching it.
Yes, and I'm excited to see how that adaptation works, because I feel like the setting is very important in this book.
Yeah, it's been moved from, the book is set in England in the 1860s. I had to look that up. It's not super clear. You know vaguely when it's set, but not with that much specificity. Yeah. But it's the 1860s. And I believe the film is Korea and slightly later, maybe the 1910s or something like that. Yeah. In 2019, Sarah Waters was given an Order British Empire for her services to literature as part of Queen Elizabeth's birthday. So she is Sarah Waters, OBE. And this is random, but I felt like it was so recent that I had to include it. In April 2025, Fingersmith and Tipping the Velvet, but none of her other books, were banned in Belarus for, quote, harming national interests. I looked up the total list of books that they put out in April in Belarus, and it's clearly just because these are queer books.
Unfortunately.
And I guess only these 2, because these are, I would say, 2 of Sarah Waters' most notable books.
That's so interesting, because these books did not come out recently.
No, they're quite old. I mean, neither of them is older than us, but they're close.
Yeah, one of them
is older than you.
One of them is older than me, so...
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's a testament to how long her books have been in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of a bummer of a note to end on. But
yeah, but I mean, I always think it's interesting when we read an older book that has a very recent development.
Yeah.
You don't get that all the time.
So. No, you don't. Like when we started the season with Fellow Travelers and the opera had just been removed from the Kennedy Center.
Exactly. God, I forgot we started the season with that book.
It feels like a long time ago now.
I don't even remember reading that book.
So I have read Tipping the Velvet, and I have actually seen The Handmaiden before.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes. Have you had any other experiences with Sarah Waters prior to this?
Not at all. Tipping the Velvet sounds familiar. Do you remember like the setting of that?
Yeah, it's set kind of roughly in the same time period, maybe a little bit earlier, a little bit later, and it has to do with vaudeville.
Oh, okay.
Like a country girl moves into the city to start performing an act and then discovers that she is a lesbian.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, no, I have not heard of it then. It's not what I don't know what I was thinking of, but it wasn't that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've not read anything else by her. I think I would after reading this one, which we'll talk about some more.
To be honest, I have very little familiarity with the other ones. I'm not super familiar with the plots of them.
Do we know which one is the straight one off the top of your head?
It might be the Night Watch or the Paying Guests. I can't say for sure.
Really throwing me off with the Night Watchman.
Oh, yeah. We can't talk about that too much on the pod or we'll get confused.
Yeah, right? All right. Well, let's get to talk about the book. But before we do, our judgments come based on the book and characters within the book rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on. I don't believe that is the case here. But as is always the case, spoilers ahead. And if you are planning on reading this one, this is another good one to stop here. It's not like Codename Verity where we're like, you all have to read this one. It's like, if you're interested in reading it, there are some big plot twists that we will be discussing.
Yes. But I will say, if you have seen The Handmaiden, they keep it pretty similar.
Yeah.
So you've really already blown it for yourself.
Yeah. No, it's up to you. And I think just getting ahead of ourselves, I don't know if this would be my number one recommendation for people. So, I mean, read it if you want, stop if you want.
Well, and I think I'll save this for the end of our conversation because I think it goes better there. I have some things to say about the experience of this book going in cold versus knowing the twists already.
And you knew because you had seen the
Because I had seen the film.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we can talk about that a little bit at the end.
Interesting experiences because I have not seen, watched, read any of it.
Okay, good to contrast. So let's talk about the twists themselves first, because I think that'll inform a lot of the rest of what we have to say.
Yeah, and that'll kind of give a pretty good overview of the plot.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a longer one. It's over 500 pages. We're not going to go super in detail about every plot aspect.
Yeah.
But let's hit the highlights.
There are, I would say, kind of three major sections of the book. The first one is kind of the bare bones of what is described in the synopsis.
Yes.
Gentleman, who is the kind of the one pushing all of the stuff with the scam, with the con, shows up, says to Sue, who is 17, like a young girl, says, come with me and help me be, like, you be the maid to this girl, help me seduce her, we'll run off and I'll marry her, you and I will split her money, and then we'll put her in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
So that's what Sue is doing in her role, and you see her working as a maid. And it's in this really weird house. It's this young girl who's also roughly 17 is living with her uncle. She's an orphan. The uncle's really weird.
Uncle's weirdo.
Yeah. In the beginning, that's all you know, that he's just like this weird guy. He's a book collector. And you slowly start to see, despite the fact that Sue is conning Maud, that she's developing feelings for her also.
Yes.
So that's present. The biggest twist happens, or maybe not, the first big twist happens at the end of this section, where the plan is executed properly. The three of them run off. Gentleman and Maud get married. And then when they go to the insane asylum, Gentleman says, okay, here's my wife, and then gives them Sue to put in the asylum instead. And
Maud then pretends to be her maid and is like, my mistress is crazy. She thinks she's the maid. Lock her up.
So the reveal is Maud was in on it the whole time.
Yes.
And the plan was always to take this like girl off of the street and put her in an asylum so that she can run away from her uncle and have access to her money.
Yes.
Because the thing is, the crux of it is, she has all this money that she's inherited from her deceased parents that she's not able to have until she's 21 or married.
Yes.
And she could not wait 4 more years in the house with her uncle. Because he's not just a book collector, he is compiling an index of erotica.
Yeah, that was crazy. And that, I think, took me, like, I think I had to reread that section.
It's hard to understand at first because that's not a thing that a normal person would do.
No.
So it's not even in your, like, head as a possibility of something that might be going on.
I don't think it fully became clear to me until the very end when Maud, like, jumping way ahead, she becomes, like, an erotica writer.
To support herself.
Yes, at the end of the book. But I think that point, I was like, oh God, is that what he was doing this whole time?
Yeah. So in the beginning, Sue doesn't know how to read.
No.
So all this stuff really goes over her head, and she's like, frankly, it doesn't matter to me and it's not my business. But she thinks that he's compiling a dictionary.
Yes.
Which, you know, you have to do by hand. So fair, but no. And Maud has been involved in this process as like a secretary to her uncle. So that's obviously an abusive and bad dynamic for your uncle to force you to write about erotica for hours every single day.
And he would like force her to read it out loud to like him and his guests.
Yes.
So all of not what a polite society lady does.
No. So all of these creepy old men from London are coming into the country to hear this teenage girl read like porn out loud. So no wonder that she is like, you know, I can deal with the fact that I put like someone else in an asylum to run away with my money and be free of this.
Yeah.
But it does come back to bite her in the ass. Her conscience does not take it very well. But she's like, okay, once we go to London, I'll get my money and everything will be fine. But sadly for her, that's not what happens.
No, because there was another plan at play this entire time.
Yes. So, gentlemen, instead of like taking her to the city and taking her to the bank and setting her up in a house like she thought would happen, he takes her back to Mrs. Suxby from the beginning, who's not Sue's mother, but Sue's mother figure.
And this is, I think, the twist that confused me the most was this whole explanation.
I felt like I needed to be writing stuff down, like, and diagramming.
I needed to make, like, trees and connect. I needed the red string.
Yes. So, oh my gosh.
Okay, so essentially, and I'm going to say it, and this might not be 100% correct.
We're going to go back and forth on this.
What I got from this was that Maud's mother, when she was pregnant,
out of wedlock,
like ran away from her brother and her father. So
because she was caught up in this whole erotica business, and she's like, I need to escape.
So she ran away and landed at Miss Suxby's and was like, I need to have my baby. Like, I
can't have my baby in high society. I can't let her live that life. Like, she needs to be free.
So, essentially, she has the baby there, and her brother and her uncle find her there. Or, excuse me, her brother and her father find her there. And she's like, I can't have my baby go to this. So Mrs. Suxby was like, let's swap the babies.
Yeah, so Mrs. Suxby had a newborn baby. Maud's mother had a newborn baby. And they were like, well, my daughter is going to grow up and be like a poor thief. So I think it would be great if she grew up to be like a fine lady.
Yes.
So I'll take your daughter and keep her safe. You take my daughter and go back with her.
We didn't know it was her daughter
oh no, she was just like, I have babies, like you could just take one.
Because she's a baby from her. But it does eventually come out that Maud is Mrs. Suxby's daughter.
Yeah.
Which that's not revealed until a little bit later.
No. So they're like, and then you will come back later and like when you can escape or something like that.
And she like had the mother write and sign like a legal note that was like, this is my actual daughter, like give her the money.
Yes. So because of this switch, the fortune is split evenly between the two babies.
Yes.
The one who is the like rightful inheritor and then the baby that's being swapped in. She's like, because of this, I'll like give both of these girls like a chance to have an independent life and I'll split my fortune evenly between them.
And Mrs. Suxby is like, well, I'm going to take this.
Yeah. So that's why both Maud and Sue had to be part of the plan, because it's not that Maud has all the money. Sue had half the money and she never knew about it because she was never told. This is going to be so convoluted if you're just listening to it, because it was so hard for us to read and we're not even explaining it like as well as we can.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not. So
Maud finds out basically that she's like a random baby from nowhere. So she thinks
she should have had Sue's life.
And Sue should have had Maud's life.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Sue is, this is like one of the things that about this book that I was like, oh my God, she's been in the asylum for what feels like 1 billion years.
So long.
Because the section of the book that and I'm like, I get it. It's bad there. I understand. Like, can we move it along? So she escapes from the asylum.
With the help of some boy.
With the help of a random boy, and gets back home. Because she's like, once Mrs. Suxby finds out what happened to me, she'll save me, she'll protect me. Mm-hmm. Not knowing that Mrs. Suxby has been in on the plan the whole time. That was
the worst part for me. I was so mad reading, like, not mad at the book, but like mad for Sue.
I know. Like,
God damn it.
It's like no one loves you, and that is very sad.
I know.
So then they're all in one place again. They're together. They realize like how much they've been conned, and that they all of this stuff comes to light. And then it also comes to light that Maud was not a random baby. Maud was Mrs. Suxby's daughter.
Yes. And what was notable is that Sue never thought she was Mrs. Suxby's baby. She was told her mother was a murderess who was hanged.
Yes. So that conveniently explains why she doesn't
Yes,
have
and
a
Mrs.
mother.
Suxby had always said that my daughter was, died at childbirth.
Mm-hmm. But that daughter is Maud. And she just hadn't been with her, hadn't seen her. And then, so, Gentleman comes back. Obviously, Sue, having escaped from the asylum, is, unraveling all his plans.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is basically for, I think he would get a cut, but Mrs. Suxby would be able to control both halves of the fortune this way.
And because they were going to have Maud go as herself, and then, Maud would have already had access to the money because she was married.
Yeah.
And then they were going to go have Maud pretend to be Sue, which is who she really is, to go get the other half when she turned 18.
Yeah. So, long and convoluted. You just need to know that Mrs. Suxby would have, complete control of the money. Yes. And then, but it's all going to shit because they have all found out about all this stuff happening behind the scenes. Gentleman shows up, and he is murdered.
Yes. And it's like a confusing moment. You're led to be not quite sure who stabs him, but eventually Mrs. Suxby takes the fall for it.
Yes.
And she's hanged as a murderess, which is very full circle with Sue always being like, oh, my mother was hanged. She died as a murderess. I liked that bit, that was that full circle. So it's so that fact was true.
Your mother was hanged as a murderess.
Yes. The character in the life of Sue, that figure, it's so confusing.
Yeah. So I feel like at the end of all of this, it takes a little while, but Maud and Sue do come to the realization that they were both played. They both did bad things to each other, but because they were trying to get out of untenable life situations, and they did have feelings for each other, they did have sex during the part where they were conning each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so they find their way back to each other. This is when Maud was like, well, I have access to our money, and I'm also going to support myself by writing erotica.
Which, honestly, so 21st century TikTok, book talk.
No, I'm going to look up Maud on Kindle Unlimited after this.
No, literally.
And so then they can start over and be together. Because neither of them has any family anymore.
And at the estate where Maud, lived.
Yes.
What was it called? Briar or something?
Briar, yeah. And also her uncle died.
Yes.
During this. I mean, he was, old and sickly already. And then I think they implied that Maud, running away from home exacerbated his condition, and then he had, a stroke and died or something. So, in the end, happy ending, ?
Happy for them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they were the two taken advantage of, so, happy for them.
Yeah. So,
strange book. Hard to follow the plot twists.
The last plot twist was really crazy. The first one was executed so well when they pulled up to the asylum. Because I think the final line of that part was Sue looking at Maud and saying, the bitch knew the whole time.
Yeah,
and then
really
you're like,
good.
ah! But the thing is, this whole book was just so unrelentingly miserable. The whole time.
In the fact that I wasn't miserable reading it, but everything that was happening to the characters was the worst thing that could be happening to them.
Yeah, and that was both helped and hurt by the fact that Sarah Waters is a good writer.
Yeah.
The thing is, she's painting an extremely vivid portrait, but it's a portrait of a place that you would never want to go to.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
And any of the like, she is able to portray, like, this, like, London slum house full of thieves, this, like, horrible, cold country estate where this teenage girl is being, like, held captive to write porn. This insane asylum that you're in for, like, 100 of the 500 pages. All of these places, you're like, oh my gosh, this is just so horrible, because it's being written so vividly. You're just, like, unrelenting misery the whole time.
Yeah, it was rough. And also, every section was just a bit longer than it needed to be.
Exactly.
Which led to the whole book being way longer than it needed to be.
Yeah. So I do think the book was going to end up being chunky, because I think the way that it was laid out structurally was good. Like, and it really gave you, like, good payoff for all of the twists.
Agreed.
But, like, for example, you see the first part where Sue goes to be a maid to Maud.
God, that was the part for me that I'm like, this is dragging.
Yeah. But you have, like, all of those events, you're told in that part. Then you have the reveal that Maud knew the whole time. And then you go over all of those events again from Maud's perspective. Which also takes a long time. And it's like, you could have, I don't know, I feel like you could have skipped a couple of them.
Yeah.
Or just, like, had different ones that are from the same time. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just a little too long everywhere, which made it very long overall. And like you said about the asylum, like,
you're in the asylum forever. And then none of those characters ever come back.
No.
And, like, I don't need convinced that an asylum in England in 1860 is a bad place. You can tell me and I'll believe you. Yeah. So, I don't know. The book ended up being, like, 500 pages. I think it could have been, like, even 25, 450, and I wouldn't really have sneezed at it. Yeah. 400, it could have been okay. Like, you're right. It's the individual parts were just all too long, and it adds up.
It does add up. And, like, that when Maud, you also get a very long piece when Maud is in London and Sue is in the asylum, and I thought that was very long. Like, she's stuck with the Suxby. She doesn't want to be there. They're, like, kind of holding her hostage there.
Yeah. And you take a long time to establish that, even though I feel like you get it.
Yes.
So, the characters also, I didn't particularly feel attached to them. I liked them. Like, I was rooting for Maud and Sue, but they didn't, like, imprint on my heart the way that some other main characters have.
Like, I think a kind of a good piece of comparison for this is the Pull of the Stars, where you have a lot less time, but you get a lot more attached.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know, I can't even really put my finger on why. It might have just been a me thing. I don't know. But, yeah, this book I expected to like it a lot more.
Yeah. I liked it, for sure. Like, I am glad I read this book. Would I recommend it for everyone? Probably not.
Well, here, now's a good time to say, like, I'm kind of the one who lobbied for this to be on the list for this season for two reasons. One, because I thought it would be really good to be able to watch the movie and talk about, like, the two different settings. Yeah. I just thought that would be an interesting conversation to have on the pod. And Sarah Waters is, like, again, like, this famous historical fiction gay author. I was like, we should include her. She's pretty notable. Notable enough to be banned in Belarus, apparently. Yeah, right? But Tipping the Velvet was, like, a 5 for me. So I thought this was gonna be, like, a slam dunk. Yeah. And I just didn't like it that much. I mean, it was okay. And like I said, it was obviously really well written and, like, competently written. But it just didn't... It was kind of a miss for me.
And you have an interesting note here, which is something we kind of touched on already. Maybe this wasn't the best one for the pod because not knowing the twist is very
integral to the experience.
Yes, it's kind of make or break the experience. And let's talk about, like you said, we were going to talk about it better. You went in knowing what was going to happen. Yeah. I went in completely blind.
So I still am, like, unsure of what I feel about this because I've talked about this a little with data scientist Ashley while I was reading the book, and I was not enjoying it as much as I thought I would.
And did you like the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Great movie, which I'll get more into detail on that episode.
Yes.
But I would recommend watching it because I do think it's good. I was like, I don't know if this is, like, a good pick. Like, maybe we should have read one of Sarah Waters' other books because I know the twists already. And what data scientist Ashley had to say to that was, well, maybe that's, like, a good comparison since Erin didn't know to have, like, one person who has, one person who hasn't. And I'm like, okay, you're right, maybe. But I do think that took away a lot of my ability to, I don't know, because I could see everything coming.
You couldn't buy into it as much as you were reading.
Yeah, and then maybe I wouldn't have felt like the sections were too long. I mean, you did too, but like if I was getting more lost in each section because I didn't know what was coming, I don't know.
For me, as I went, the sections being longer were less of an issue. But that first section, when I didn't know there was a twist coming, I was like, why are we spending so much time here? Like, what is the point of this? And so I did appreciate the payoff of the twist at the end of that section.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a really sour start to the book for me, because I'm like, I don't know, like, what is the point of this?
Yeah. And this is just occurring to me just now. It is a little bit of a different situation because the first time I read it was a really, really long time ago. But I had read Codename Verity before.
Mm-hmm.
And that hinges a lot on twists. But we felt so emotionally attached to those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a difference maker. So I don't know. I don't know if this is like an interesting formula for me to be like, would I recommend this book to people or not?
Yeah.
It's like, if this, but this. Like, I'm just not, it's not like a blanket yes or no. Because I don't think this is a bad book.
No, I think it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. But I would much more quickly tell people to either watch the movie or to read Tipping the Velvet instead. Okay. Which also is really fucking long, by the way. It's like 600 pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if her other books are long and this is just like what she does, or if those two books are just the long ones.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know very, very little about any of the other ones, even though apparently a bunch of them have BBC miniseries.
Okay, well,
that we could be watching.
If you ever need something to watch, now you have an easy list to choose from.
Yes.
Along with the Underground Railroad. Oh
my gosh,
10-part Amazon.
Which we still have not even attempted to like Google.
I just can't fathom how that is a 10-part mini. Like, that book was not long enough. I
keep forgetting it exists until we pop record. Because it has not entered, like, we only found out about it through, like, still no one in life has ever brought that up.
No.
We only found out about it through Googling.
Exactly. But yeah, I think overall, while I did like this book, the length was a deterrent, which is not usually the case for me. Usually I don't have an issue with a long book.
Mm-hmm.
But if it feels long and it drags,
you want to keep the pages turning.
Yeah.
Like when we read, I don't think it was quite this long, but when we read The Four Winds a couple seasons ago, that was my first Kristen Hanna. I had never read Kristen Hanna before. And as I was reading it, I was like, wow, I am turning these pages. Yeah,
that was like maybe 4. I didn't audio. It was like 400 something.
Yeah, it was like 450-ish, like shorter than this, but still, you know, chunky enough.
Lengthy.
And the pages were not a turning.
No, this one was kind of rough for me.
Yeah. And one more note at the end. I did not understand what motivated Mrs. Suxby to take the fall for Gentleman's Murder.
I think because she did show, like, affection towards Maud, I think it was her change of heart because, like, her daughter had returned, and it would have been her daughter taking the fall otherwise.
Okay.
Like, those were the two suspects, was Maud and Mrs. Suxby.
She was a very interesting character because she was so kind on the outside. Even though you knew she was conniving and, like, morally questionable, she always acted nice, even to Sue when she was, like, planning to put Sue in an asylum. But I just felt like there wasn't, I don't know, when she became actually nice, I felt like I needed more to demonstrate that, like, oh, she knew, like, she was never going to get the money, and also this is her way to, like, make up for the wrong that she's done. Like, mm-hmm. I understood it, maybe objectively, I just didn't feel it in my heart.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that was like the end of the book, so that's like the note the note that you go out on.
Yeah, so overall, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I was hoping to, and I feel like not as much as I could have.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I don't really have, like, with how I feel and my, like, how I'm feeling about the book, I don't really have another point of comparison with another pod book.
No, it's a very original book, which I think is why it's been so famous and notable and, like, stood the test of time and been adapted so much.
Agreed.
It's very unique. Like, when we get into the star calculator, it's going to get some points for originality.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But should we do historical accuracy now?
Let's. I have a few things to say, and actually, when we did our disclaimer, I do have one real-life historical figure.
Oh, okay, well, that is one that, at the very least, I assume the name has been changed. Because there was no one I clocked in the book.
There was no one real in the book. But here, let's do that first.
Okay.
So the figure of Maud's uncle was based on a real life man named Henry Spencer Ashby, who was a wealthy lawyer, businessman, blah, blah, blah. And he was a book collector, and he collected regular books like Shakespeare, Dickens, Cervantes, etc. But he also published 3 volumes of an erotic bibliography.
Oh.
So this is like, all of it is very much like this guy's life is put into the figure of Maud's uncle. Mm-hmm. There's no real life equivalent to Maud. He didn't necessarily have like a little poor relation that he kept as a slave to do his like work for him.
Yeah.
But he published 3 volumes of an erotic bibliography under the pseudonym Pacanus Fraxi, which is funny to me.
Sure.
And this is what's also funny to me is he had like a normal family. He had a wife and I think 2 daughters and a son. And over the course of his life, he ended up like he didn't talk to any of them by the time he died.
God.
Because he just got increasingly more conservative.
Not the right-wing pipeline.
Which is like crazy to hear from this guy who's like spent his whole life writing about porn. But he was getting more and more conservative. And then he and his wife got divorced because she was a Jewish suffragette. Mm-hmm. And she made sure that their daughters were educated and they also became suffragettes. And then his son was a gay socialist.
Sure.
So I think hopefully the rest of them still talk to each other. They just didn't talk to him.
Sounds like the family was doing great except for him. Sounds like he was kind of a freak.
And he withered away in his little library by himself, reading his erotica. In the book, in Fingersmith, there's like maybe 5 or so titles that are mentioned by Maud that she's like copying by hand. Those are all real erotic, mm-hmm. Victorian porn. And then in addition, Henry Spencer Ashby, the real gentleman, was rumored to have been the anonymous author of a memoir called My Secret Life, which was a 4,200-page memoir published anonymously about a Victorian gentleman with like a crazy sex life.
And that is so funny because we're complaining about this book being like 500 pages.
4,200 pages of just some guy's sex life.
Oh my God.
So modern historians, we're kind of at the point where like we have evidence that it's him, but not enough, like we'll never know for sure if it's him. Okay. But to be fair, he seems like a good candidate.
Yeah, I'd put him in the running.
Yeah. So you don't actually get a ton of Maud's uncle in the book. Like you don't get a perspective from him. Like he's pretty absent from that whole first part that we discussed, but he looms pretty large and a lot of it is taken from this real life guy. So that's interesting. Yeah. So then I have a little bit to talk about asylums.
Yeah, I would say that's the other most notable setting piece here.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just like normal
Victorian London.
City life, but asylums, there's a lot that I can go into. But actually, like I said, this is set in the 1860s. The 1800s in the UK were an interesting time for asylums. They underwent like a lot of reform and there was like progress and then regress. It was an interesting mm-hmm. period. So this is kind of the first time when the medical community was like, what if we based like our base assumption for all of our patients in asylums is that they're people and not just like crazy loons. Like what if we just treated them like people?
Consider.
Crazy. Yeah. So prior to that, there had been a lot of like just tying people up, like locking them in padded rooms, etc. So there was a progressive movement to stop doing that and to provide more individualized care one-on-one. Mm-hmm. But kind of as a consequence of this, like as asylums were getting more humane and more people viewed them as like places you would willingly send a loved one, then there were more asylums, like the number of asylums really skyrocketed, but also the populations skyrocketed. Yeah. So towards the end of the century, it became more and more like regressing back to this old format and less patients were able to get individualized care.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So I encountered a lot of this language that like this is a really optimistic time for asylums, that people had great hopes for what they could become. And then all of that kind of like faded away. Mm-hmm. Like I would almost compare it to where we are in the like American political situation. Yeah. Where we just are coming off of this like Obama era hope where we're like, mm-hmm. we could all like be friends together. Yeah. And then right now, like no one thinks that.
Yeah.
So, there was ebbs and flows of people's faith in asylums during this time period. But a lot of the women patients had care, or like there were misconceptions around that their conditions that were really tied to their gender.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Sue as like, she's in a women's asylum.
Yes.
And there are only women there. There are women that have been there for decades, and their male relatives have control over them, etc. So women were diagnosed really frequently with hysteria, which men were not diagnosed with because it was thought to be connected to women's reproductive organs.
Mm-hmm.
So some treatments in asylums for women included hysterectomies and clitoridectomies because they figured like the problem is your uterus, and if you don't have it anymore, then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, that's a really big surgery to be having in like 1850. You do not want to have that happen to you.
I would assume, especially not in an asylum.
No. But all you needed if you were a man to get your wife committed to an asylum is to have a doctor certify that they are a lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the official language. I'm not just saying, like, that's what they would call them.
Like in Beauty and the Beast when they tried to get Maurice locked up.
Exactly. Apparently, Charles Dickens attempted to put his wife in an asylum.
Oh, God.
And he thought it was a slam dunk because the doctor he asked to certify that his wife was a lunatic was like a friend of his. But the friend was like, I think you just don't like your wife anymore because you don't think she's hot because she's had 10 of your kids and you want to sleep with your mistress. So no, I'm not going to say that your wife is crazy because she's very clearly not.
Good for this guy for being like the only moral person back then.
I know. So then Charles Dickens was like, shit. He just had to, and he just had to like keep his wife like on the outside. But yeah, so not a good time. And I think given the setting of the book in the 1860s, then Sue is not benefiting from a lot of the progress that reformers had tried to make in the asylum system.
Absolutely.
So, bummer for her and bummer for all the other ladies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all I have. Unless you have any comments, I think we should move on to our star calculator.
Absolutely, I think we should. Our categories are historical accuracy, originalities, characters, prose, and vibes. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Historical accuracy, I'll give it a 4. I like the details that were included, especially knowing about like the uncle being based on Ashby. I feel like, not that I think it was like laziness on the part of Sarah Waters, but I think if you're writing in this era, a lot of people would just kind of generalize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just like not that many details. So even if it was like very thoroughly researched about the Victorian era, I think I would have been like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And that's also not the point of the book.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Originality, 5, absolutely. I've not read a book like this. I thought the twists were very well executed. Characters, probably like a 2. They really didn't have that big of an impact on me. They were like fine. I just kept being sad for Sue and Maud and like no other emotions really. Prose, I'll give a 3. No complaints. I took 2 points off for the lengthiness because I didn't know what other category to take that from. And vibes, I'd probably give it a 3 as well. That's going to be a 3.4, and I did rate this 3.5. So very firmly a fine for me. I think there were some aspects of this book that really, really excelled. Some aspects of this book that really, really didn't excel. So I think it kind of evens out. Like, I don't regret reading this at all.
Okay. I have kind of similar thoughts to you. So I also gave it a 4 for historical accuracy. I feel like it's my very normal, like, Grace 4 standards. And again, 5 for originality. Like, it's clear that this book is still, like, people are still reading it for, like, that reason.
Yes.
Not because it's not, that's one of the reasons. Characters also, too, I just did not really care for any of them. The 2 is, I guess, because I feel like there was, like, the right amount of characters. The characters were doing, like, they had their own roles and motivations in the story. But I just didn't, like, I'm not going to be thinking about them after this. Yeah. Prose, I gave the prose a 4. Because I thought it was really well done. That kept me going. I also felt like the voices of the characters felt like realistic to what like a teenage girl going through all this stuff in 1860 would sound like. Not that I know for a fact, but I believed it.
You can imagine.
Yeah. But vibes, I gave it a 2 just because like of the unrelenting misery.
Yeah.
And I might have given it a 3 if I had felt like I was able to like really root for anyone the whole time, but I didn't. So I was just kind of like slogging through. So that's a 3.4.
Same.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 on Storygraph, and after some reflection, I moved it down to a 3.25. So yeah, this is a fine, which is okay. But like I said, I loved Tipping the Velvet. So I thought this was going to be like a slam dunk, and I'm kind of shocked.
So this is like a disappointing find.
Yeah, it's kind of like, do you remember 1 or 2 seasons ago when you read that romance novel, A Caribbean Heiress in Paris?
Yes.
And I DNF'd it because I was like, I thought this was going to be fabulous, and I hated it. This is what this is.
And I was like, I thought this was going to be terrible, and I loved it. But unfortunately, not the case here.
No. So it's a firm fine.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fine. Again, in summary, read it if you want to. I wouldn't tell anyone, oh God, avoid this book, it's really bad.
Yeah, if you think that you're interested in it, I would read it. And
I'm excited to watch the movie.
Yes, I would recommend the movie. I would probably read the book first if you wanted to do both. I don't know. But like, yeah, this isn't bad enough that I would tell people not to read it. I think that if you're interested in it, even if it turns out bad, it's worth trying. Like, the time that it takes out of your life to read a book is not long enough to be like, I'm not going to do it.
And it's very well constructed. I think this is one of the better constructed books we've had on the pod. Like, the setup, the plot twist, like, they hit really hard.
Yes. So, and actually when I was doing research, I didn't really include mention of this because there was no point in my, like, wrap up that it was relevant. Mm-hmm. But because this book, I think, was shortlisted for the Booker, if you go on the Booker website, they had I guess an afternoon where someone went and sat down with Sarah Waters, and she has a bunch of the materials that she used when she was writing.
Oh.
So she has like a paper that has the diagram of when all the twists get revealed, and she has like a list of Victorian erotica that she's going to reference.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so I would go and look those up. It was very fun to look at.
That's really cool. All right, well, next week, you can tune in for Jews, Queers, Germans by Martin Duberman. And if you're missing us in the meantime, make sure to be following along on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @5orflop_pod.
And, of course, you should join our most joined Storygraph Reading Challenge. Yes, I mean, like, by 1, but still.
Major announcement has hit the pod.
On Storygraph, we only have 2 books left. Jews, Queers, Germans is our penultimate episode for season 4.
Which is kind of crazy.
If there's anything else that you think we should fit into future seasons, you can fill out the recommendation form in the bio of any of our social medias, or just email us at 5orfloppodcast@gmail.com.
And until next time,
happy reading!
Bye!